Okay, on number 18, it's kind of like the last problem we did on page 4. It says create an equation of a line that's parallel to x equals 5 and one that's perpendicular that goes through the following point. So if that's the case, remember x equals 5 was a vertical line that went up and down. So if it's parallel to this, it's also going to be a vertical line, so x equals -3. If it's perpendicular, remember it's just y equals, so it's just going to be y equals some number. And in this case, we want it to go through the point -3, -7, so the y value has to be -7. And that's it. Those are your answers. Number 19. It says y equals C of t is the cost of a gallon of milk in US dollars since 1980. What does delta C over delta t mean? Remember that little delta symbol means change. And this really should say C of t. What does change of C of t over change of time mean? So this C of t means that's the change in cost. Over the change in time. So basically we'll be able to see if there is a change in cost. Does the cost go up as time goes up? Okay, so that's all that number 20 is asking. Or 19, I mean. Number 20, what does undefined slope mean about the line? So we talked about this a little bit. If it's a vertical line, it means it has undefined slope, so it just means it's a vertical line. Zero slope means that we have a horizontal flat line. So zero slope means it is a y equals some value. Back to number 20, undefined slope meant it was x equals some value. So on question 22, it says a car has a 15-gallon tank for gasoline and gets 30 miles per gallon on a highway while driving 60 miles per hour. Suppose the driver starts a trip with a full tank of gas, meaning he has 15 gallons of gas, and travels 450 miles with an average speed of 60 miles per hour. Write a linear model representing the amount of gas GT left in the tank T hours into a trip. So I know that the amount of gas is going to be going down. I start with 15, and because I get 30 miles to the gallon, when I go 60 miles, I have used 2 gallons. And it's very nice that we're also going 60 miles per hour, because that means in 60 miles I have gone 1 hour. So every hour I use 2 gallons of gas. So 15 gallons is the amount that I started with, and I know that every 60 miles I use 2 gallons. So the amount of gallons, see this T, that means with time. So for every hour I use 2 gallons. So for every hour, so T is in hours, I use that many gallons. So that's how many gallons of gas I have left with respect to time. Okay, now on part B it says evaluate G of 4.5. What this means is if I've been traveling for 4.5 hours, how much gas do I have left? So gas in my tank is 15 minus 2 times 4.5. So 15 minus 9 equals 6. So 4.5 hours into my trip, I've used 9 gallons. I have 6 gallons left. This 450 miles doesn't really mean anything other than that's how far we are going. You know, if you wanted to say how many hours that took, you'd go 450 divided by 60. And that would calculate the number of hours, which would be 7.5. And then you could figure out the number of gallons you'd have left after going that far. So anyways, that could be a follow-up on that problem on a test or something. So number 23, I have not taught you how to do, so you have to pay attention to this carefully. It says directly proportional and inversely proportional. Anytime we're talking about problems of proportionality, there's always some constant in there. And as soon as we see an is, it means equals. Okay? So what it means is we have y equals some constant of proportionality. If it says directly proportional, that means it's times this k up here. So it's directly proportional to x and m. It's inversely proportional to w and z. So inversely means divide. So as soon as you see inversely proportional, you're going to write a divide sign. So that's the first part that you have to do, is create an equation. So you've created an equation. Now we're going to go to part 2, which says solve for k. So I'm going to plug everything into this equation. It says x is 3. I don't know what k is. M is 8. W is 9. Z is 4. And y is also 4. Now solve for k. I'm going to multiply these numbers. 24 on the top. 9 times 4 on the bottom makes 36. I see that each of those are divisible by 12, so I'm going to reduce that. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And 36 divided by 12 is 3. So now to get k alone, I multiply by 3 halves, because those are going to cancel off. But what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And I see that 4 is divisible by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So k equals 6. That's part 2. Now part 3 says solve for y when x equals 10, m equals 2, w equals 30, and z equals 8. So we want to know what y equals. So there's my y equals. K is 6, x is 10, m is 2, w is 30, and z is 8. And you can multiply that all together, or you can cross cancel. I see that that's a 10 and that's a 30, so I'm going to reduce each of those by 10. And I know that 2 and 8 makes 4. And 6 and 3, that's going to make a 2. And 2 and 4 makes a 2. So I'm left with 1 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So y equals 1/2 when I have all this other information.